It was supposed to be a regular morning on The View. The cameras rolled, the lights burned bright, and the studio audience buzzed with the usual mix of anticipation and laughter. But no one in either the hosts, the crew, nor the millions watching at home could have predicted the emotional storm that would unfold when John Kennedy, the usually composed and sharp-tongued guest co-host, uttered a single, unforgettable sentence that changed everything. As the show opened, Kennedy was his usual charming self-measured, witty, and occasionally daring with his opinions. The panel discussed politics, culture, and the ever-present pulse of American division. But tension began to simmer when the topic turned to truth and media, a subject Kennedy has always been passionate about. His voice grew steadier, his expression darker. The audience leaned in, and then, he said it, "I'm tired of pretending we're listening to each other when all we're doing is waiting to talk." The studio went silent. For a few seconds, the air itself seemed to freeze. Joy Behar blinked, caught off guard. Whoopi Goldberg leaned back, her arms folded, her expression unreadable. The audience wasn't sure if they should clap or cry. What followed was not the usual witty banter, but an emotional unraveling of honesty that viewers would replay again and again. Kennedy's words cut through the noise of television politics and hit something deeper, a reflection of the growing frustration across the nation. He continued, his voice shaking slightly, "We talk every day, but do we hear? We debate, but do we understand? If this show can't bridge that gap, then maybe I'm not the right person to sit at this table." Co-host Sunny Hostin tried to intervene, her tone soft, almost pleading. "John, you're part of this family. We need these hard conversations." But Kennedy just smiled, a bittersweet expression that said everything words could not. "Families fight," he replied, "but they also know when it's time to step back before the fight becomes the only thing they have." As the commercial music started to play, the cameras cut to break a but behind the scenes, emotions ran high. Producers scrambled. Co-hosts huddled. Kennedy sat quietly, looking down at his hands, the weight of what he'd said settling over him. The decision had been made in that moment of truth. He would leave The View, not in anger, but in purpose. When the show returned, Kennedy announced his departure live. The audience gasped. He thanked each co-host by name, his voice trembling. "This table has given me a voice," he said, "but now I need to listen to the people outside these walls, to the ones who don't get to sit here. That's where my next conversation begins." Tears filled the eyes of several co-hosts. Whoopi, who rarely shows vulnerability on air, reached across the table and grasped his hand. "You've got guts, John," she said softly. "Don't lose that." The two shared a long, silent nod that spoke volumes. In the hours that followed, social media exploded. Clips of Kennedy's final words flooded feeds across the world. Some viewers called him a hero for speaking truth to the culture of television debate. Others accused him of abandoning the fight. But beneath the noise, one message stood out, a quiet, resonant call for empathy in an age of argument. Days later, Kennedy released a statement, not of regret, but of reflection. Leaving The View wasn't about walking away up, it was about walking towards something better. "I hope we all find the courage to listen again." His departure became more than a headline, it became a moment of reckoning. For television, for conversation, for anyone who's ever felt unheard in a world too busy talking. By the end of the week, a new episode aired without him. The empty chair at the table was impossible to ignore. But in that emptiness, there was also a strange peace, a reminder of the power of one sentence, one truth, one choice to step away, not out of defeat, but out of hope. And as the camera panned across the remaining hosts, a subtle shift could be felt. They spoke softer, listened longer, paused more. Maybe, just maybe, John Kennedy's exit hadn't broken the View, it had changed it forever. In a world desperate to be heard, his final words still echo. "Listening isn't weakness, it's love." And with that, the chaos he left behind became the calm we all needed to find.